In modern Western culture, we are constantly bombarded with the message that aging is a battle to be fought, a slow, painful fading of our vibrant youth that we must resist at all costs. We buy anti-aging serums, disguise our graying hair, and quietly mourn the passing of our physical prime. But what if society has it all completely backward? What if growing older isn't a tragic loss, but rather the ultimate, beautiful ripening of human wisdom? Buddhist philosophy offers a radically different, deeply comforting perspective on this natural progression. It teaches us that the later chapters of life are not a period of inevitable decline, but a profound transition into clarity, inner peace, and true freedom. Aging is a sacred invitation to finally stop striving and start simply being. If you look closely, the anxiety we feel about getting older usually stems from our deep attachment to the past. We cling to the physical vitality we once had, the demanding roles we used to play, and the fast-paced identities we built over decades. But Buddhism gently reminds us that true liberation comes when we stop fighting the natural flow of time. Think of this chapter not as the dimming of a light, but as the clearing of a foggy lens. You are finally able to see the world, and yourself, with breathtaking clarity. You no longer have to prove your worth to anyone. The exhausting race is over, and you have already earned the right to simply exist. In this video, we are going to explore 6 transformative Buddhist lessons designed to help you navigate your life in old age with grace, purpose, and a profound sense of peace. These are not rigid rules, but rather gentle invitations to help you inhabit this precious season of your life with a wide open heart. Let us begin this journey inward. Lesson 1: Embrace impermanence as a natural season. The foundational truth of all Buddhist teachings is the concept of impermanence, known as anicca. Everything in this physical universe is in a constant, beautiful state of flux. The stars shift, the tides pull, the mountains slowly wear down, and human beings are no exception to this cosmic rhythm. Yet, as we age, impermanence often feels less like a gentle rhythm and more like a cruel thief. We look in the mirror and trace the new lines on our faces, or we realize that our bodies can no longer perform the physical feats they once did with ease. It is entirely human to feel a sense of grief when noticing these changes. But the suffering we experience does not actually come from the aging process itself. The suffering comes entirely from our resistance to it. Imagine a magnificent oak tree deeply rooted in the earth. In the spring, it bursts with bright green buds, full of frantic growth and new life. In the summer, it provides a vast canopy of shade, standing strong and vibrant in the heat. But when autumn arrives, the tree does not stubbornly cling to its leaves. It does not fight the cooling air or resent the shifting light. It gracefully surrenders its foliage, knowing that the release is necessary. And in the quiet, barren chill of winter, the tree is not dying, it is resting. It is drawing its energy inward, fortifying its roots, and preparing for a new kind of depth. Aging is simply the autumn and winter of your human experience. It is a season of profound refinement. For decades, your life was characterized by outward expansion, building a career, raising a family, accumulating knowledge, and shaping your identity in the world. That was your spring and summer. But now, the energy is naturally shifting. The universe is inviting you to draw your focus inward. The outward hustle is being gently replaced by inner stillness. When we understand impermanence not as a loss, but as a necessary evolution, a heavy burden is lifted from our shoulders. You don't need to be the person you were at 30, or even 50. That version of you played their part beautifully, but their chapter has concluded. Clinging to past versions of yourself is like trying to force autumn leaves back onto the branches. it is an exhausting and impossible task. Instead of focusing on what is fading, bring your gentle awareness to what is emerging. Physical strength may wane, but emotional resilience deepens. The quick, sharp intellect of youth softens into the expansive, quiet wisdom of experience. You begin to understand the delicate nuances of life that you completely rushed past in your earlier years. There is immense, untapped freedom in finally putting down the armor you've worn to battle time. When you stop fighting the clock, you reclaim all the energy that went into that struggle. You can redirect that energy toward loving deeper, listening closer, and savoring the quiet moments that truly matter. You become a master of the present, unbothered by the shifting sands of time because you know your true essence, the quiet observer behind your eyes, is entirely untouched by age. It is ageless, timeless, and completely whole. To practice embracing this impermanence, try this simple mindset shift in your daily life. When you notice a change, perhaps an ache in your knee, or a forgotten name, pause, take a deep breath, and softly whisper to yourself, "Things are changing, and that is okay." Acknowledge the shift without judgment or frustration. By naming the change and welcoming it, you dissolve the friction. You align yourself with the natural order of the universe. Embracing impermanence allows you to ride the waves of life with a serene elegance, knowing that every single phase holds its own unique and irreplaceable beauty. Lesson 2: The Art of Emotional Decluttering. As we journey through the decades, we naturally accumulate things. We gather physical possessions, yes, but more significantly, we collect emotional baggage. Throughout our younger years, we pack our mental backpacks with memories, resentments, expectations, and the heavy burden of trying to please everyone around us. We carry the memory of an unkind word spoken 20 years ago, the regret of a path not taken, or the lingering anger towards someone who wronged us. But as you enter the later stages of life, this invisible backpack becomes profoundly heavy. It exhausts your spirit and drains the vital energy you need to enjoy the present moment. Buddhism teaches us that suffering arises from attachment, from our desperate clinging to things that are meant to be released. Letting go is not a sign of weakness, nor is it a dismissal of your past experiences. Rather, it is the ultimate act of courage and self-care. It is the conscious, deliberate practice of emotional decluttering. There is a classic story of an eager young man who traveled across rugged mountains to seek the wisdom of a revered Zen master. When he finally arrived, he immediately began pouring out all his worries, his past grievances, and his complicated theories about life, seeking a solution to his restless mind. The Zen master simply listened in silence and began pouring his guest a cup of tea. He poured until the cup was full, and then he kept pouring. The hot tea spilled over the edges, running across the table and onto the floor. The young man jumped back, shouting, "Stop! The cup is overfull. No more will go in." The Zen master smiled gently and replied, "Like this cup, your mind is full of your own opinions, past regrets, and old stories. How can I show you peace unless you first empty your cup? Aging is your invitation to finally empty your cup. You no longer have the time or the energy to carry grudges that poison your own heart. Think of forgiveness not as a gift you give to the person who hurt you, but as a key that unlocks your own prison cell. When you forgive, you are not saying that what happened was acceptable. You are simply declaring that you will no longer allow that past event to dictate your present happiness. You are cutting the heavy anchor so your ship can finally sail into calm waters. This decluttering extends beyond old resentments. It also means letting go of the exhausting need for external validation. In our youth, We often contort ourselves to fit into molds created by society, our parents, or our peers. We say, yes, out of guilt and sacrifice our own boundaries to keep the peace. But in this beautiful chapter of aging, you are granted the ultimate permission slip to drop the act. You no longer need to be the perfect host, the tireless worker, or the constant caretaker if it drains your soul. Begin this practice today in small, quiet ways. Go through the rooms of your mind. When you find an old resentment gathering dust in the corner, acknowledge it, thank it for whatever lesson it may have taught you, and gently sweep it out the door. When you feel the familiar tug of guilt for putting your own needs first, recognize it as an outdated habit, and kindly let it dissolve. By clearing out the dense, heavy furniture of your past, you create an expansive, airy space in your mind. In that spaciousness, true peace can finally come and sit down. You walk through the rest of your life not with a heavy load, but with a light, unburdened heart. Lesson 3: Reclaim your power through radical presence. The human mind is a relentless time traveler. It is constantly pulling us backward into the faded echoes of the past, or launching us forward into the hazy, anxious landscapes of the future. When we look back, we often fall into the trap of nostalgia or regret, wishing we could rewrite chapters that have already been published. When we project forward, we draft elaborate stories built entirely out of fear, worrying about our health, our declining independence, or the uncertainties of tomorrow. But Buddhist wisdom offers a gentle, sobering reminder: the past is a closed library, and the future is an unwritten novel. The only solid ground you will ever stand on is this exact, ordinary moment. Radical presence is the art of calling your spirit back to the here and now. It is understood that life does not happen in our memories, nor does it happen in our daydreams. Life only ever unfolds in the breath you are taking right this second. As you grow older, this practice of presence becomes not just a spiritual luxury but an absolute necessity. When you were younger, society trained you to constantly chase the horizon. You were always living for the weekend, the next promotion, the next vacation, the next milestone. You were conditioned to believe that happiness was always waiting somewhere in the future. But the profound gift of aging is realizing that the chase is an illusion. You have arrived. There is nowhere else you urgently need to be. To reclaim your power through presence, you must intentionally interrupt the mind's habit of wandering. You don't need to retreat to a silent monastery to do this. The practice happens right in the middle of your daily life. It happens in the kitchen, in the garden, and in the quiet of your living room. Tomorrow morning, when you brew your coffee or steep your tea, do not let your mind run down the checklist of errands you need to run. Instead, bring your full, undivided attention to the sensory experience. Listen to the sound of the boiling water. Feel the comforting warmth of the ceramic mug seeping into your palms. Watch the gentle swirl of steam rising into the air, and taste the complex bitterness on your tongue. When you anchor yourself in the physical senses, you give your anxious, time-traveling mind a safe place to land. This level of presence turns the mundane into the miraculous. We often miss the quiet beauty of our lives because we are too busy looking past it. But when you slow down, you begin to notice the exquisite details you previously ignored. You see the specific, golden quality of the late afternoon sunlight painting your living room wall. You hear the intricate song of a bird outside your window. You feel the profound miracle of your own lungs expanding and contracting, a steady rhythm that has faithfully kept you alive through every joy and sorrow of your entire life. When you feel anxiety creeping in about getting older, gently place a hand over your heart. Feel its steady, undeniable beat. Whisper to yourself, right now, in this moment, I am breathing. Right now, I am safe. Right now, I am enough. You cannot control the hands of time, and you cannot predict what the future holds. But you possess the ultimate power to fully inhabit the life you have today. By practicing radical presence, you stop waiting for life to happen, and you start participating in the quiet, sacred beauty of what is already here. Before we continue to our next lesson, I invite you to pause for just a moment. Take a gentle, deep breath in, and slowly let it out. If these reflections are bringing a sense of peace to your heart today, consider joining our quiet community here at Buddha Coha. Gently click the subscribe button, and perhaps share your own journey in the comments below. Your wisdom might be exactly what another soul needs to read today. Now, let us return to our path. Lesson 4. Curate your circle and protect your energy. As we journey deeper into the autumn of our lives, our fundamental relationship with our own energy undergoes a profound and necessary transformation. We begin to understand, on a deeply visceral level, that our emotional and spiritual reserves are no longer infinite resources to be handed out to whoever asks for them. They become our most precious, premium currency. In our younger years, we often operated under the exhausting illusion that more is always better. We aggressively expanded our social networks, attended every gathering out of a fear of missing out, and frequently tolerated draining, chaotic relationships simply because we feared loneliness. We lived with a heavy sense of societal obligation, consistently keeping the peace in our external relationships by repeatedly sacrificing the peace within our own minds. But one of the most liberating lessons of Buddhist wisdom is the understanding of Sangha, the concept of a true, nourishing community. A genuine Sangha is never measured by the sheer volume of people surrounding you. It is measured entirely by the spiritual, emotional, and vibrational quality of the connections you choose to maintain. As you age, you are granted the beautiful, hard-earned right to intentionally curate your inner circle. You are allowed to create an inner sanctum, a protected, sacred garden where only those who bring warmth, deep understanding, and genuine calm are invited to enter. Think of your life as a beautifully tended garden. In the frantic spring of your youth, you planted countless seeds, allowing vines and flowers of all kinds to grow wildly, intertwining and competing for sunlight. But now, in the maturity of your later years, you must act as the wise gardener. You must gently prune the branches that no longer bear fruit. You must stop pouring your precious water on relationships that are rooted in drama, resentment, or a constant demand for you to be someone you are not. Curating your circle does not mean you are becoming cold, bitter, or isolated from the world. On the contrary, it means you are finally treating your own emotional well-being with the profound, uncompromising respect it has always deserved. You begin to realize that you do not owe anyone access to your daily life if their presence consistently disrupts your internal harmony. There is a deep, quiet, and unshakable strength in recognizing when a relationship has naturally run its course. Sometimes, people are meant to walk alongside us for only a specific season of our growth. Trying to drag those temporary connections into the winter of your life only causes unnecessary friction and pain. You must learn the graceful, guilt-free art of loving people from a safe distance. You can genuinely wish someone well, silently send them loving kindness and blessings through your meditation, and hold absolutely no ill will toward them in your heart, without ever inviting their chaotic energy back into your living room. Peace must always take precedence over proximity. If a relationship requires you to constantly defend your life choices, shrink your authentic self, or exhaust your spirit just to maintain a fragile connection, it is simply too expensive for this sacred stage of your journey. Take a quiet, brutally honest inventory of the people you interact with on a regular basis. Who leaves you feeling deeply seen, effortlessly understood, and emotionally replenished? Who embraces the quiet, slower person you are becoming today, rather than constantly demanding you revert to the fast-paced, outdated version of yourself they remember from decades ago? Hold those nourishing, gentle souls incredibly close to your heart. For everyone else, practice the gentle release. Set compassionate but deeply firm boundaries. When you clear away the exhausting noise of unfulfilling obligations, you make wide, expansive room for relationships that feel like a soft, safe place to land. Lesson 5. Discover wealth in everyday miracles. Throughout our entire lives, particularly in modern Western society, we are aggressively conditioned to measure the worth of our existence by a very specific, narrow definition of success. We are taught from our earliest days in school that meaning is forged strictly through relentless productivity, visible accomplishments, and constant forward motion. We measure the value of our days by how many tasks we crossed off our endless to-do lists, the impressive professional titles we acquired, the financial wealth we accumulated, and the grand milestones we conquered. We spend decades running breathless on this exhausting treadmill, entirely convinced by the world around us that if we just reach the next level, the next promotion, the next vacation, the ideal retirement plan, we will finally unlock a lasting sense of happiness. But as we step out of the rush and into the golden, slower years of our lives, this grand societal illusion gracefully crumbles before our eyes. We discover a profound and deeply comforting Buddhist truth: true wealth has absolutely nothing to do with doing more, and everything to do with noticing more. Buddhism gently redirects our gaze away from the distant horizon and back to the ground beneath our feet, teaching us to find the deeply sacred hidden within the profoundly ordinary. When we are young and frantically rushing toward an imagined future, we treat the simple, daily moments of life as mere background noise. They are just annoying gaps of time we must endure between the important events. But as the frantic pace of your life naturally begins to slow down, those tiny, consistently overlooked moments finally step into the spotlight. You begin to realize, with a sudden rush of clarity, that joy was never actually hiding in extraordinary, expensive, or rare experiences. It was quietly waiting for you the entire time in the beautiful, mundane rhythm of your everyday life, simply waiting for you to finally pay attention. This is the transformative, life-altering spiritual practice of microgratitude. It is the conscious, deliberate decision to completely redefine what constitutes a miracle in your daily existence. A miracle is no longer winning an award, buying a new house, or traveling to a distant country. A miracle is the profound comfort of fresh, clean sheets resting against your tired skin at the end of a long, ordinary day. It is the complex, earthy aroma of your morning coffee rising to greet you, wrapping you in familiar warmth. It is the soothing, rhythmic sound of rain gently tapping against your window pane while you sit safely indoors, entirely sheltered from the storm. It is a shared, wordless smile with a stranger during your slow afternoon walk through the neighborhood. When you actively cultivate this level of microscopic awareness, you realize that your life is not winding down, it is waking up. It is already overflowing with quiet, continuous blessings that you previously rushed past. To anchor this gentle wisdom into your daily routine, consider adopting a simple, silent evening practice. Tonight, as you lie in bed before drifting off to sleep, deliberately refuse to worry about tomorrow's uncertainties or analyze today's perceived mistakes. Instead, intentionally recall 3 tiny, specific things that brought you a brief spark of comfort or joy. As you actively search for these small joys day after day, a beautiful, permanent shift occurs within the neural pathways of your mind. You begin to rewire your entire perspective from a mindset of scarcity, focusing constantly on the youth you have lost or the energy you lack, to a mindset of overwhelming abundance. You stop asking yourself the exhausting question, "What did I achieve today?" and instead begin to ask the only question that truly matters at this sacred stage of life: how deeply did I feel my life today? By embracing these everyday miracles, you cultivate an indestructible, quiet joy that no physical aging, no loss of status, and no external circumstance can ever diminish. Lesson 6. Leave a blueprint of boundless compassion. As we gently step into the twilight of our journey, a very natural, profoundly human question begins to echo in the quiet halls of our minds. In the stillness of the evening, we inevitably ask ourselves, what will truly remain of me when I am gone? The human ego, driven by modern society, loudly answers this question with tangible things. It tells us that a meaningful legacy is built through accumulation, leaving behind a large inheritance, a successful family business, a prestigious title, or a name carved into a heavy stone monument. The ego demands to be remembered for what it conquered and what it built. But Buddhist wisdom offers a far gentler, far more enduring, and infinitely more beautiful truth. It teaches us that your ultimate legacy is not a physical structure or a bank account. Your truest legacy is the invisible, lasting emotional footprint you leave behind in the hearts of others. It is the blueprint of boundless compassion. Compassion, known in Buddhist philosophy as karuna, is entirely different from simple politeness or superficial kindness. True compassion is the profound ability to look at another human being, look past their flaws, their defenses, and their outward behavior, and deeply recognize your shared humanity. It is the softening of your own heart. It is the absolute willingness to extend warmth, understanding, and grace without expecting a single thing in return. It is looking into the eyes of another and silently communicating, "Through my presence alone, I see your suffering, I honor your struggle, and you are entirely safe with me." However, as people grow older, a very heartbreaking paradox often occurs. Many of us naturally become incredibly forgiving, patient, and tender toward our grandchildren, our friends, and even perfect strangers. Yet, at the same time, we remain ruthlessly harsh and unforgiving toward ourselves. We carry the heavy, jagged stones of our own past mistakes. We look back at the parenting errors we made decades ago, the career opportunities we missed, or the relationships we failed to nurture, and we punish ourselves with relentless regret. We look at our aging bodies in the mirror with criticism instead of profound gratitude. But true Buddhist compassion must always, without exception, begin inward. You cannot possibly pour refreshing water from a cup that you refuse to fill. You must learn the sacred art of self-forgiveness. You must look back at the younger versions of yourself, the one who made the wrong turn, the one who lost their temper, the one who failed, and you must wrap that version of yourself in total, unconditional forgiveness. You must understand that you were simply operating with the level of wisdom, healing, and awareness that you had at that specific time. You did the best you could with the tools you were given. Lay down the heavy stones of regret. You have carried them long enough. You have paid your debt in silent suffering. You are allowed to be completely free now. Once you have finally forgiven yourself, your heart naturally cracks wide open to the rest of the world. Your inner peace becomes a quiet, radiant light that effortlessly extends outward. You begin to practice compassion in the smallest, most invisible, yet most powerful ways. It shows itself in the moment you choose to deeply listen to a lonely neighbor without interrupting or offering unsolicited advice. It reveals itself in the exceptionally soft tone of voice you intentionally choose when speaking to a frustrated, overwhelmed cashier at the grocery store. It is the gentle, reassuring smile you freely offer to a stranger who looks entirely defeated by the weight of their day. These tiny, seemingly insignificant acts of warmth echo through the universe far longer than anything material you could ever leave behind. You don't need to move literal mountains to matter. You don't need to write a best-selling book or leave behind grand, historical achievements. Long after you are gone, the world will not remember the noise you made. It will remember the profound warmth of your presence. People will remember that when they sat next to you, their nervous system finally relaxed. They will remember the gentle ones, the patient ones, the ones whose very lives whispered to a frantic world, "It is okay to soften here. It is okay to rest." Try this simple, life-changing Buddhist practice whenever you are out in the world. When you encounter someone, whether it is a beloved family member or a difficult stranger in traffic, silently repeat these words in your mind. Just like me, this person deeply wants to be happy. Just like me, this person is secretly suffering. Just like me, this person simply deserves peace. Watch how quickly those simple words dissolve the invisible walls between you and the rest of humanity. Watch how they turn conflict into deep understanding, and distance into a profound, spiritual connection. Your compassion is the greatest wealth you possess, and giving it away freely is the only way to truly keep it forever. We have traveled a beautiful, quiet path together today. We have learned to gracefully embrace the shifting seasons of impermanence, allowing the autumn leaves to fall without resistance. We have discovered the incredible lightness that comes from emotionally decluttering our minds, emptying our cups of old resentments. We have reclaimed our ultimate power by cutting the ties of mental time travel and anchoring ourselves fiercely in the sacred present moment. We have given ourselves permission to curate our inner circles, protecting our vital energy for those who truly nourish our souls. We have completely redefined our wealth by noticing the extraordinary, everyday miracles unfolding right beneath our noses. And finally, we have committed to leaving behind the most enduring legacy of all, a boundless, radiating compassion for ourselves and for every living being we touch. If you carry only one truth with you from this video, let it be this: aging is not a closing chapter. It is not a fading away, a stepping down, or a loss of your inherent value. Aging is a profound, beautiful, deepening. It is the grand ripening of everything your life has been preparing within you for decades. You are no longer here to rush, to prove your worth to society, or to fight the natural flow of the universe. You are here to live gently. You are here to see clearly. You are here to love without the slightest trace of fear, and to walk the earth with the quiet, unshakable wisdom you have rightfully earned through every single storm and sunny day of your remarkable life. Thank you for spending this precious, quiet time in stillness with us today. If these reflections touched your heart or brought a sense of peace to your mind, please consider leaving a gentle like, sharing your own wisdom in the comments below, and subscribing to our community. Together, we can help this circle of calm reach someone else who may desperately need it today. May you walk gently, may you be deeply present, and may you always be completely free.